First one is, what do you think are the most important qualities in a teacher? For me, patience, play, and ambition. Patience, because I don't think that every student is going to learn something in the same time frame as others, and I think it's so important that you give them the patience, the calmness to be able to finally and fully grapple something that is more complex than others to certain individuals. So I think it's really important that patience is a part of any teacher's repertoire. Play as well, and I don't mean like sort of silly play. I mean just like the ability to have a good time, to follow the joy. I think it's so important that a student sees you also be entranced and intrigued and playful about a subject, because I think that kind of thing is contagious. So I think play is really, really, really key. You don't need to be too stern, if that makes sense. Ambition as well. I think that when a student sees a teacher be ambitious for them about something, trusting them, believing in them, I think they then believe in themselves. This is all coming from my own experience learning, and I feel like those three things were crucial in any teacher that I preferred. I think everyone growing up had those individual teachers that they just kind of struck a chord with more than others, and I think patience, play, and ambition probably would have been the reason why I connected more with certain teachers than others. What are the best experiences and biggest challenges in teaching? I think obviously if someone is disinterested or I don't know, apathetic, I think it's always hard when someone doesn't seem to be interested in or enjoying what you're teaching. And I think sometimes a student could have had a bad day, or maybe it's just a specific subject isn't really, hitting a chord with them. And I think that's definitely one of the biggest challenges. However, I think one of the biggest rewards is when you tackle that, when you get through that, when you find that part of the subject that sparks their imagination. And that could be anything: creative writing, English, history, philosophy, drama, anything you're teaching. That being able to figure out what it is that student likes, and that might just be about questioning them, asking them, having the patience with them to find that. And when they do, suddenly everything else sort of comes into play, and you can see that they're really flying with the learning, and they're reaching a sort of flow state. So I think, that's one of the best successes, when you see a student really start to enjoy what they're learning. And then what comes is, successful exam results, getting into the secondary school they wanted to getting the GCSE A levels, whatever the success is. You can see that often comes from a sense of enjoyment, in my opinion. Finally, why did I get into teaching, and what else do I do for work? I got into teaching because I went to university, graduated. After that, I graduated from drama school, did a master's there, and I grew up. I went to school for a part of my life, most of my life, but I was also lucky enough to be home educated with private tuition at points. Also, family members helped out who had experience in teaching. And I think what I really learned as someone who has been in school and who was home educated was that when you're home educated, you don't have to do anything. As in, of course you do, but you really have to have a sense of autonomy when you're home educated, and that could be quite young. And I feel like, having been given that autonomy, I started to learn what actually made me interested in learning subjects. As I said, who were the teachers that I was inspired by? Who were the teachers that I weren't inspired by? Why was that? And often I found that it was never a subject itself that was the boring part or was the negative part. It was often the way it was taught. And so I think what I then, from learning that, from having those experiences as a kid, after I graduated university, went to drama school, I had always had this urge to come back and give what I'd learned, not only through being home educated and going to school, but also from the mass amount of acting classes and teaching that I have been lucky enough to go through in Paris, London, Moscow. And the way that they teach, even though it is theatre in that situation, if you combine a different subject with the methods that they teach, it's really about this idea of patience, play, and ambition, as I say. And I think it was always very, very, very interesting to me to go back and to teach, the newer generations in the way that I would have wanted to be taught growing up, with those sort of three factors at play. So I always wanted to be able to use my experience and all the things I've done to give really engaging methods of teaching to people who sometimes struggle, always connecting within the school world, or in whatever situation. So yeah, that was the main thing. And then what else? What else do I do for work? I wrote in the email, but I am an actor, published playwright, theatre maker, theatre company, artistic director, all of the arts. I also work in content writing as well, and obviously tutoring. So yeah, I have a huge passion for the arts, and I try and implement that into the way that I tutor any subject.